Where do I begin? Whenever somebody does a video or somebody starts out a story, they always start out with where do I begin? And the very next thing they say is start at the beginning. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start at the beginning. Um, I've known Charles. I've known Charles since we used to call him Chuck for almost 30 years now. I mean, I met him when I was young MC, just doing rhymes in the dormitories at Lackland Air Force Base. He had a manager who eventually became my manager, Silas Sophocles Jefferson. And Chuck had just released his first single. It was a song, it was sort of a pop song that was called What About My Heart. And they were looking for somebody to put a rap in the breakdown just to give it a little bit more edge. The guy that was doing the remix for them was a friend of mine named Andrew Lee, who later became DJ Easy Lee. Um, when they told him what they wanted to do, Lee basically told him, "Hey, I know a guy." So they called me in, and I did 8 bars on this track for him. And at that point, Chuck and Silas approached me and said, "Hey, that was pretty good. Would you ever consider about actually doing this?" Which I never have, but what the heck, I thought. At that point, that's when I started recording and making music. So, truth be told, if it wasn't for Chuck, I wouldn't be recording music, you know. But I can tell you this, Chuck had drive. I mean, I was kind of lazy, but Chuck was the hardest working man I have ever met. If you told Chuck he couldn't do it, Chuck would prove you wrong. If you worked hard, Chuck would work harder. You do one song, Chuck would do 3. That man was the most determined, hardest working artist I have ever known. I have never seen anybody hustle harder. I've never seen anybody put more effort, more time, more love into what he does than Chuck. We started out together back in the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, any gig he could get, Chuck took. Silas worked his butt off trying to find a market, trying to find a venue so that he could get Chuck out there. And Chuck never said no to an opportunity. He was always on the grind. I mean, that man was relentless. So when he told me he had this project he'd been sitting on for the longest amount of time, I couldn't believe it. I mean, this was Chuck. This is the man that pushed himself to be better, to reach heights that many people would have given up on long ago. I mean, when in the beginning it was just Chuck, myself, a crew of dancers, and DJ Easy Lee. That's all we had. And we were a family. We were Soundtown Productions. We were going to go to the top. Unfortunately, at that time, the market that we were in, and the time that we were doing what we were doing just didn't seem to line up. And unfortunately, Chuck never got that opportunity to show what he was really capable of. That's why this project, 60 Minutes of You, needed to be released. Chuck needs to let the people know, hey, this is my legacy. This is who I am. This is what I do. Because deep down in your heart, you know that you're an artist. And Chuck is an artist. I am so proud that he has decided to go ahead and put this out because he pours his heart, he poured his blood, he poured his soul into this project. It needed to be heard because at the end of the day, as an artist, all you have left is your music. And this is Chuck's music this is Chuck's legacy. I hope you guys enjoy it. Take your time, take a listen, and feel what he wants you to feel. Chuck, I love you like a brother. Man, I wish you nothing but success. And 60 minutes won't be enough.